Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 8th of March, 2023. I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Morning Report. A one-off tax-free payment and salary increases are among the wages and salaries agreement reached between the government and the unions representing public sector workers. That announcement was made last evening in a statement from the Public Service regarding negotiations for the period 22 to 25. The one-off payment of $1,500 is for the period 2022 to 2023. It is for everyone who at March the 31st this year would have been working in the public service and state-owned enterprises that are dependent of central government for recurring financial support. The only deduction from that amount will be for national insurance. The same people are eligible for cumulative salary increases of 3% for 2023 to 2024 and 3% in 2024 to 2025. There are also increases in allowances of 10% for 22 to 23 and 3% for each of the following years. The SOEs not relying on central government for recurring financial support have been encouraged to conclude outstanding wages and salary negotiations in short order. Now, in addition to the financial package agreement was also reached on non-salary items, among them the creation of 22 posts of master teacher for the education sector, the creation of 10 posts of specialist nurses, and the establishment of a grievance monitoring committee to track and resolve public sector grievances to meet monthly. The Public Service says it is envisaged that the salary increases and other initiatives will allow for the retention of valuable public service skills, upward mobility, and the maintenance of the harmonious labor management relationship in the public service and state-owned enterprises. In other news now, Budget Day is next week in Barbados. Come Tuesday, Barbados will get a clear picture of how the government intends to address critical economic and social matters over the next year or so. The announcement was made last evening by Leader of Government Business in the House, Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw, who wrapped up estimates debate last evening.
On Tuesday, the 14th of March, as we prepare to do the second reading speeches, as that debate has certainly come to be known as also the estimates, that it is also the intention of the Prime Minister, who has it within her domain, to also present a budget as well. And I therefore wanted to give notice that that is likely to take place now on March the 14th at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
In other news now, the incidence of violence against women continues to rise. Caribbean statistics are showing that since COVID, the acts of violence have gone up by 100%. And the gender equity, which today's International Women's Day theme speaks to, does not have them included in that equality fight. Joining us now to speak to the matter is Dr. Halima Deshong, who is a senior lecturer and head of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the Nita Barrow unit at the University of the West Indies. Good morning to you, Dr. Deshong.
Good morning, Pearson, and happy International Women's Day to you and yours and the entire CBC family, and to Barbados as well. Likewise as well.
Now, how far away from our women how far are our women really away from having gender equity?
That's a really complex question, because we can look at how we are performing across different areas, socially and politically. We can see, for instance, in a country like Dominica, they have managed to achieve almost parity in representation in national politics at the level of the House of Assembly. But you just called out some very troubling statistics. And one of the things we know about inequality, gender inequality specifically, is that it's amplified in times of crisis, in times of natural disaster, in times of economic restructuring. During our structural adjustment periods in the early 80s in Trinidad and Tobago, we saw escalation in violence. And we saw in Barbados almost 100% increase of official reports of intimate partner violence to police during the COVID period. We also have a situation in the Caribbean where we conducted prevalence surveys in about 5 countries: Jamaica, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada. And in all of those countries, we recorded prevalence of gender-based violence of more than 1 in 3, which is the world average, as low as 39% and as high as 55%, 39% in Grenada and 55% in Guyana. I say this to say that, gender-based violence is one of the most heinous manifestations of gender inequality. So even as we record greater participation of women in labor market, that is also gendered. So we see women sort of concentrated in the service-related industry, in the informal economy. But we also see over the last several decades an increase in women in public sector managerial positions in government. But we are not seeing an equal participation of women in corporate leadership at the level of national politics. We are fortunate in Barbados to have our first woman prime minister. We've had a woman governor general in Nita Barrow. We have a woman president. And while that is important, those are important shifts, we also need to see more enduring structural changes to ensure that the promise we make to ourselves for the achievement of gender justice is actualized.
From the statistics that which you've received from your survey, which section of women are more likely to be victims of violence? And then from those statistics as well, what do you think now still needs to be done?
Okay, I would say, unfortunately, we do not have reliable and recent prevalence data in Barbados. What I can tell you is that those prevalence surveys, that's such a survey is going to be pursued in Barbados shortly. The government of Barbados has signaled its commitment to have such a prevalence survey. I would say that the challenge with naming the statistics across different groupings is that official statistics tend to show that more women who are socioeconomically disadvantaged report to the state, right? For services, for protections, and so on. But this does not really betray the full picture, because women across social class are affected by intimate partner violence in particular, and we do have a serious problem of child sexual abuse and sexual violence against women. Very high levels, women and girls tend to be the major targets. And if we look at our prevalence of early pregnancies between the ages of 15 and 19, we do have a significant proportion of young girls and women who present. And this tells us something larger about the problem of child sexual abuse against girls, against children in general, but more so against girls. And it tells us something about the problem of sexual violence in general against women. So while we might not be able to, at present, we do not have reliable data to drill down to the class dimension of violence, but what we do see presented is that, yes, while working class women tend to present at the state for support services, this does not mean that middle class and other groups of women are not affected, because they are, but they may rely on other informal measures of support. And in general, the vast majority of women experiencing, and girls and children's engendered violence, do not present for formal services. So we have, the only way of us to have a better picture of what this really looks like is to have that prevalence data, those surveys done, to give us a better picture. And unfortunately, we only have a few Caribbean countries with those prevalence data.
We can sit on the data and do absolutely nothing, but we can do something with the data on which we sit. What do you suggest going forward needs now to be done with this data in order to turn around those statistics and make them far more beautiful?
I would say that, across the Caribbean, including Barbados, we have made serious commitments to our citizens, to our women, to ensure that gender justice, gender equality is actualized. And we have made those commitments through our, as signatories to the Committee on All Forms of Elimination, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the CEDAW Convention. We've made that in our commitment to the Beijing Platform for Action. These are things that we've signed on to. These are commitments that governments have made, and governments have articulated this through the implementation of domestic violence policies, etc. We are also seeing a number of gender policies emerging. Barbados is still in the process of finalizing its gender policy. It is important, it is urgent that the actions promised in those policies are pursued, because without structural and systemic changes, without changes in cultures and ideology, without addressing our representations in media and in popular culture, without the kind of work with families and ensuring that we build stronger economies, that economies are more diversified, and we have meaningful livelihoods for people, we are not going to meaningfully address the problems of gender and its intersecting forms of inequality. So we have to follow through on our verbal and our written commitments to our people. And we see this as part of even the constitutional review process, where these questions are being raised and our publics are engaged, and we must pursue these commitments with seriousness. So International Women's Day really reminds us of those commitments, reminds of the work that women have done in organizing historically to combat, to ensure these changes do occur. And we want to see those commitments pursued with a degree of political will and alacrity, because it is urgent.
That is such a good point on which to end. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Dr. Halima Deshong, Senior Lecturer and Head of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the Nita Barrow Unit. Thank you very much, and happy International Women's Day again to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We'll take a break here on the CBC Morning Report. When we come back, Barbados wins the major tourism international award in Germany.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados
Barbados has won the Green Destinations Story Award for Environment and Climate at the ITB Berlin, one of the world's largest tourism trade shows. Minister of Tourism and International Transport, the Honourable Ian Gooding-Edgell, proudly accepted the award in Germany earlier yesterday, expressing gratitude to Green Destinations.
It is an honor for Barbados to have received this award, and I would like to extend my thanks to the team at the BTMI, led by the chairman and the CEO and other staff members who worked and submitted the information for this award. Having to come out of a field of over 100 nominees, I think is an exceptional and incredible performance on behalf of Barbados. As you're well aware, our Prime Minister, the Honourable Mayor Morley, has been a trailblazer on the international scene, advocating in particular for small island developing states to ensure that we not only build resilience, but also stressing the awareness and the impact that climate change has on Barbados. Our energy policy, which set out in an agenda, has resulted in us electrifying the transport board buses. That is one significant achievement. We have over 49 electric buses now. We have the largest fleet of electric buses in the Caribbean. The second initiative, in my judgment, would be the fact that Barbados has moved to solar energy. and as a result of that, we are moving to have almost 43% of the grid on solar power. This is a remarkable achievement for us, especially during peak periods and non-peak periods. It also therefore means that our determination and policies are working as a government to ensure that we achieve these accomplishments. The other thing that I would like to mention is the fact that we've changed up more than 25,000 street lights as a destination. And certainly we've now gone to LED, moving away from the sodium-based bulbs. The ban and importation of incandescent bulbs as well is another accomplishment, not to mention all the other significant achievements that we've achieved in Barbados. Certainly with respect to the hotel sector, we have over 50 hotels that are certified as green hotels in Barbados. We also have the first certified hotel that has gone off-grid, Ecolodge Hotel Company. In addition to all the investments that the government has made available, opportunities I should say, that the government has made available to the hotel sector to green and become more resilient. These all contributed to what we accomplish here, and certainly our policies at a government level has also caused us to be where we are today. So I really want to say that this award is for Barbadians. This is about Barbados. This is about the Barbados government leadership in the field of resilience and climate change. And I think it's something that we should all be very, very proud of.
Apologies for the extra noise there in that extract. Bahamian Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper says the country's tourism product is picking up significantly. He says the country has experienced a record number of visitors. This report from Eyewitness News.
Government is currently targeting a 20% growth in tourism for 2023, and according to the minister, they expect to meet or even exceed that goal.
In January, we saw nearly 1 million visitors come to the Bahamas. Yes. And for context, January of 2023, we saw that almost 1 million, but that number was in the region of 300,000 just the year before, in January 2022. That is a 166% increase between 2022 and 2023. And when we look at 2019, remember that was a banner year. We saw 636,000 air and sea arrivals in January. January 2023 is a 33% increase over 2019, and this trend is holding throughout the islands.
Now, Cooper also noted they're seeing an increase in many family islands, including Cat Island, Eleuthera, San Salvador, and Long Island. As for the nation's second city, Grand Bahama, he says government expects more traffic on the island after the Carnival cruise is completed in 2024. As government readies itself for what it says will be another record-shattering year in the tourism sector, Cooper makes this plea to Bahamians.
But I want to make the plea now to those on Grand Bahama and indeed throughout the Bahamas that you seize these opportunities to become business owners. As the chaplain said today, take up your bed and walk. You can provide safe, fun events and activities for visitors that help you to build businesses and create wealth.
In about 10 minutes, when you join me for Morning Barbados, today we want to look at the SOAR Experience Virtual Summit. What is it? When is it? Why should you attend? We get all those answers when we're joined by the organizers in just a while. It's International Women's Day today, and so we'll meet a woman who believes that everything starts and ends with self-love. Why does she say so? And coming this morning, we'll meet the folks from Fund Access just ahead of a big showcase they're having on the weekend. Those and a whole lot more straight ahead for Morning Barbados at 6:30. We're back with more news in just a moment.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League,
There are new developments surrounding the controversial 10B construction project in St. Joseph. As a cultural icon has joined the vocal, concerned residents and legal action is being threatened. This all unfolded yesterday as the rural community appears to be standing firm and prepared to take further action against the project. Crystal Hoyt reports.
This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is sacrilegious.
Cultural ambassador and social activist, the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, referring to a wall being constructed as part of the 10B construction project by Earls Water Limited.
Town and country planning have made a monumental mistake in permitting these so-called developers to come here and build a ridiculous wall. This is terrible. And this man is allowed, given permission to build this atrocity, this barrier. And not only that, to build a cottage down here and try to stop the good people of St. Joseph from having access not only to the teacup and saucer, but also to Joes River itself. It is unfair, it is wrong, it is an injustice.
He says Barbadians must always have access to the country's rivers and beaches. CBC understands some St. Joseph residents are so upset they are in the process of filing an application for an injunction to stop the construction of the wall. One resident, Stephen Gemma, says he wants the Town and Country Development Planning Office to reconsider its decision to approve this construction.
In the past, there were certain restrictions in terms of development along Riverside. One, along the beach side, there was a 100-foot water mark in which you could not do any development within 100 feet of the high water mark. That seemed to have gone through the window. One. Two, there's a setback, what you call an easement, from the center line of the river. That too has gone out through the window.
Richard Haynes, CEO of South Central Marketing, which represents Earls Water Limited, was on hand to hear the residents' concerns. He spoke on behalf of the developers.
They have heard the local community. They are dedicated to the local community. They actually were responsible for fixing the railway trace when it was damaged several years ago. They were heavily involved in the construction of the Joes River Bridge, which obviously is a major attraction down here for locals. And they've heard the people's concerns. They've currently stopped the construction of the actual gates on the eastern end of the property, and they are going to sit down and they basically want to consult with the local community to make sure that when this project comes off, is erected, that everybody is done in harmony with the local community and everybody's happy.
Nevertheless, in addition to the legal action, the community is organizing a protest for next week. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
The government of Belize has set up a task force to address inflation and price gouging. Despite government subsidies to the productive and transportation sectors, along with other initiatives and achievements, the cost of living remains high and is affecting all Belizeans. Prime Minister John Briceño has been shedding light about the newly established task force.
What we did is, remember, Minister Mai has the responsibility of supplies control. And there they have the inspectors to ensure that people are not price gouging. But we thought that it was more than just the government to be able to do that. So what we said, we set up a task force with him as a head, with his technical people, but also the unions have been saying that they want to help in this quest, that they have the ideas how we could try to control price gouging. So we said we want to bring them in and bring in the private sector so that we can come up with a plan that everybody would support. Now it's easy. Some people are saying, well, reduce taxes, but reducing taxes, most of what we bring to the table to eat doesn't pay taxes. So I mean, and we import too much of our food. So we're importing inflation. But by eating more locally, then I think we can see we can make a difference. So the idea is to have a team to take a look, and we're hoping that at the most within a month we should be able to get some feedback to Cabinet as to what are the recommendations that they're making to help us to be able to combat inflation, but more importantly, the price gouging that many of our citizens believe is happening today.
U.S. President Joe Biden has proposed new taxes on the rich to help fund Medicare, saying the plan would help to extend the insurance program's solvency by 25 years and provide a degree of middle-class stability to millions of older adults.
The extra revenue is to help keep the insurance plan solvent until at least 2050. Biden is set to make this proposal as part of his budget presentation on Thursday. Kimberly Halkett's got more from the White House.
The U.S. president said on the campaign trail, and since he's become president, that his goal was really to rebuild the middle class in the United States. So to close the wealth gap that he sees widening in the United States, where essentially the top income earners are increasingly getting more and more wealthy, and the rest of America is sort of being left behind. And so this is an attempt to try and sort of rebalance the scales, if you will. And to do that, he's trying to bolster some social programs that are really in trouble. Namely, in this case, it's Medicare. And this is a social program that is really designed to protect the elderly Americans in the United States, some 60 million that count on it for their health care. And what the problem is essentially that it's running out of money. In about 5 years, it's going to be in trouble. And so this is going to allow for it to continue. What the proposal is that the top wage earners in the United States making over $400,000 would have their taxes increased from 3.5% to 5%, and this would fund that program. In addition, there would also be a reduction in the cost of prescription drugs in order to see this continue for decades to come.
A look at sports now. West Indies aren't off to the best of starts after the first session of play in the second test against host South Africa at the Wanderers. South Africa won the toss, opted to bat, and at lunch they're 133 for 1. Aiden Makram is unbeaten on 55, an innings that has so far included 10 fours. The lone wicket taker is left-arm spinner Gudakesh Moti, who is in the team as a replacement for pacer Shannon Gabriel. Moti is returning to the Windies team after recovering from a back injury. Meanwhile, Samuel Badri has been named as an assistant coach of the West Indies senior men's team for the upcoming 6-match white ball series against South Africa. Cricket West Indies has announced that the former West Indies leg spinner will join the squad for the 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20s from March the 16th to the 28th. Badri played a very vital role indeed in both T20 World Cup winning campaigns for the Windies in Sri Lanka in 2012 and in India in 2016. He played 52 T20s and picked up 56 wickets between 2012 and 2018, at one point being ranked the world's #1 bowler in the T20 format. Let's take a look at forecast conditions now. These figures are recorded earlier at the Met Office of the Grant Lee Adams International Airport. In Barbados at the moment, it's 24 degrees Celsius under partly cloudy conditions. There's a slight haze. The winds are coming from the east at 17 kilometers an hour. Expect today a low tide at 18 minutes after 10 and another low tide at 60 minutes to 11 this evening, and a high tide scheduled for 90 minutes to 5 this afternoon. Seas today are calm to moderate in open water, with northerly swells ranging from 0.5 to 1.5 meters and increasing. Barbados today, mostly sunny with a few brief isolated light showers. Barbados tonight, a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. And now we'll look at some forecast conditions for some international cities. And that's it for today's edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Pearson Bowen. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
I choose to say good morning to you as well. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today. It's Wednesday, the 8th of March, 2023. My name is Pearson Bowen, and we say a very special good morning and happy International Women's Day to our women folk. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for continuing to be the nurturers of our community and to be guides of all things good in families. So we want to congratulate you today on your achievements, and we wish you a wonderful day today as you mark International Women's Day. Speaking of which, coming up today, we meet a woman who believes it all starts with self-love. And as we mark International Women's Day, we want to celebrate with her what that means and her achievements thus far as well. Also today, in the month for the disabled, we'll look at autism and how do we treat to it and what support systems are available for those of you who may have a child who has been diagnosed with autism. We'll talk a little bit more about that. When we talk HR this morning with Hermab, we want to look at the type of data that HR should be concerned with. I know you think for yourself, data? Yes. The type of data that HR should be concerned with, we'll talk about that when we're joined by members of Hermab in just a little while. Our urologist will come by today, and we want to take a look at benign prostatic hyperplasia. And what is that? Well, Dr. Paul Rouse will tell you in just a little while as well. This morning too, we will be talking more about fund access. They have a big showcase coming up on the weekend. We'll tell you where it is, when you can be there, and all of those kinds of details. But let's get started this morning by turning our attention to this woman who believes it starts and ends with self-love. Her name is Anne-Marie Emmanuel. She is a certified relationship and self-love coach. She's also an author of a book called Relation Shift. Anne-Marie, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here on this. What a beautiful way to start International Women's Day.
Indeed. Self-love. Why do you believe that's absolutely critical, that it starts with self and ends with self?
Because everything that we're hoping to accomplish or achieve, or whatever success we're looking for, has to be filtered through that tiny circle of how much we love ourselves and we are connected to ourselves. In life, we tend to live life from the outside in, and most of the times we go after things that we want that are outside of ourselves. But when you start to live your life from that place of self-love, you're living life from the inside out, and then you have more impact on the people around you and the success that you achieve in life.
A lot of times people hear the term love yourself first, sounds as if it's arrogance. It's almost you're being reclusive, you're all to yourself. Or who do you think you are? So what do you say to anybody who faces that kind of response and reaction as it relates to their attempt to seek to love themselves?
Yeah, because society has trained us that, focusing on loving yourself is conceited or self-adulation or, too much. But when people do not understand what real self-love means, self-love is that connection, that foundation that we have, whereby we're connected to our heart, our mind, our soul, and our body. And when you take care of these foundational elements, then you're able to be supportive in all the other areas of your life.
You're quite right. You use the word critically too, foundation, because it's from there that build our strength. We know we're on solid ground and not shifting sand. And so in knowing that, that's how we propel ourselves into having better relations, having better interactions with others outside of ourselves. You wrote the book Relation Shift. What does that mean? Not relationship, relation shift. What does that mean?
It means that when, you have to shift the way you relate to yourself and others. Most of the times when we think relationship, we are focusing on going out there and creating relationship with other people. But when you shift that perspective to realize that when you do everything to nurture, when you become dedicated to nurturing that relationship with your authentic self, then all of your other relationships will automatically flourish because people start relating to you completely differently.
So in this book, Relation Shift, I suppose then you break it down chapter by chapter to give us a sense of understanding better who we are and the value of who we are, and then you probably give us some insight as to how we can now, knowing what we are and who we are, we can now begin to display it. So am I reading it correctly?
Yes, absolutely. In this book, the book is in the category of self-help. So it is like a workbook. So after every chapter, there are thought-provoking questions that the reader would have to answer. And I always urge people who buy the book to go ahead and look at those questions and answer those questions, because that is when you begin to participate in your own transformation. And those questions help people to start to realize certain things that they never realized about themselves because they never were willing to inquire or ask those questions.
And you're right, because oftentimes we tell ourselves, oh, that's easy, I could do this by myself. I think I got this covered. And you're saying sometimes when we do that, we get it wrong. And you're asking, take a look into the pages of Relation Shift. It's a clearly defined process under which you have written the book that takes us from the beginning of total nonsense, basically, to a point of full knowledge and acknowledgement of who we are. And all along the way, we are building up that foundation that helps us to stand strong. And so in every chapter, talk to me about some of the chapters and some of the areas, critical areas that you address through the book.
Well, some of the areas that I address is what really stops us from loving ourselves, because most of the times we all know what it takes to love ourselves. We all know what we're supposed to do to take care of our bodies, to feed our minds with positivity, to have an exercise routine or a meditational routine, to sustain our spirituality. We all know that, but why don't we do it? Because there are certain things that's happening beneath the subconscious that we don't know about that are stopping us from doing that. So a lot of the work in terms of the thought-provoking questions is to get people to go and answer those questions, to think deep about their life and what they're doing. And a lot of times people are afraid to go there because it takes a lot of introspection and it can be very scary for a lot of people. So that's why I urge people to do the work, because people would look at the questions and they would overlook them and say, okay, like you said before, I know that
exactly.
Already. But when you start going deep with it, you start to discover things about yourself that you don't know.
And you're quite right. It can be scary, very, very scary, almost to the point where you're driven to inaction. You're saying, you know, I don't like what I see, and because I don't like what I see, I'm not even going to open up my opportunities to meet anyone new. And so you're saying, no, don't stop there. Don't stop at that point of acknowledging the damage that you are or possibly could be. Look at the repair that comes next, and so move past that point of ugliness into something absolutely beautiful, because in doing so you now become not just vulnerable, but you become very open to allowing something beautiful into your space. And so the book is called Relation Shift, and it's how one relates to oneself, shifting your view of yourself so that you become far better at having other people in your space. Somebody's calling you. Who would choose to call you at this time of the morning? Indeed. But nonetheless, you know, it's one of those books that's a very practical guide to forming better relationships with other people, but starting with that relationship with yourself. It's called Relation Shift, because when you refuse to go there, you could very well miss out on some wonderful opportunities straight ahead. How long have you been writing now? What propelled you to write this book?
Well, you know, this book was written in the pandemic year, and during that time, in these intense times that we're living in, I saw a lot of people who had accomplished a lot, who had acquired a lot, who had done a lot, and yet they were still feeling dissatisfied, and people were beginning to question the meaning of life. And I know I was there, and I wanted to write about my journey. I thought the timing was just perfect for me to write about my journey, because I was just coming out of that journey where I moved from inner lack to inner lush. I was asking those same questions, like, what's life all about? Look how much I have accomplished, and I still don't have that inner peace and satisfaction that I was looking for. So that's what inspired me to write the book during the time that I did.
And now from that writing, we can all benefit indeed and truly benefit. And that's what the beauty is. Where can people get copies of your book, by the way?
The book is available on Amazon.com. They can also, well, that's for the local people here in Trinidad, but in Barbados, it would be available on Amazon.com. And the cost of the book is $19.95 US.
All right, so it's called Relation Shift. It's a book. It's available on Amazon. So if you see yourself struggling with understanding yourself because life has shifted, relationships have shifted, but circumstances have shifted and you've lost your footing, Relation Shift can help you with finding your footing yet again, understanding who you are within the context of all that's happening around you. But in understanding who you are, you can stand firm, you can stand tall, loving yourself, and in doing so, now you can help to love others and allow others to love you back as well. Because sometimes that's what we do. We shut the shutters down and we say, you can't hurt me. I won't want you to hurt me. So I'm not allowing you to even see what's beyond the window. And so you're saying, no, let's take some time in relationship to better understand ourselves, to see what we display and get a better sense of what people appreciate about ourselves as well. Because the feedback is also going to be critical if we're going to make that shift in how we see and view ourselves. It's a good book. It's a good book, Anne-Marie Emmanuel. I wish you the very best with it. And is this your first writing, by the way?
This is the third book.
Third book. All right.
Yeah, so I wrote 2 books in the pandemic year. I started writing. I ended up writing 3 books within from 2020 to 2022.
Imagine that. It took the pandemic to cause you to do that. But a good thing came from it indeed. It's a book called Relation Shift. It's available on Amazon. It's a great self-love book. Folks, we got to love ourselves. We have to, and it's not about being arrogant or being so unaware of others around us, but it's about being aware of who you are and whose you are and what you are built to be. And so take the Relation Shift, take the chance now to find it on Amazon and turn between the pages, answer the questions chapter by chapter, and in doing so, don't say, oh, I've answered the question and move on. Dwell for just a moment. Dwell for just a moment, because it's building the habit, it's making the change, building the habit moment by moment. Think, and then you implement as you go forward as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wish you the very best with everything else, and
thank you so much.
Let it not take another pandemic for you to do some writing.
I'm actually working on my 4th book right now.
Good indeed. Keep touch with us, all right? Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
To all the readers, happy International Women's Day to all the women.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much indeed. Anne-Marie Emmanuel is her name. She's the author of the book Relation Shift. She's a certified relationship coach, and she wants to be able to help you shift your focus back to recognizing who you are, the strength of who you are, and to build on that. Get the book. It's available on Amazon. We'll take a break here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for a new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying you can...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
14 minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock. Father, be with me these names, but be patient. I'll try to get it right. Let me introduce you now to the people behind the SOAR Experience Virtual Summit. I'll try. That joining me right now is Vicky Otaruina. With her is Odeshewa Greg Igodaro. Good morning. You're laughing at me. You're laughing at me. I tried.
You tried.
I tried indeed. Vicky, start with you. Could you pronounce your name for me, please?
Yes, it's Vicky Otaruina.
I got that right. And
yes.
Adeshewa, how do you say yours?
That's Adeshewa Greg Igodaro.
All right, that way. Okay, thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about... Yeah, I'll try that later on. I'll practice it. But let's talk a little bit about the SOAR experience. What are we talking about here when you call it the SOAR experience? What's that about?
So the SOAR Experience Virtual Summit is all about you soaring in business. So we are part of a group called the Kingdom Women in Business International Worldwide Network, and that group really is a set of women who are business owners around the world, Christian women, and we have created this summit to help people soar in their business, soar in their lives, and ultimately in their business. So the word soar really has a meaning. It's really a blueprint that I use in my business to help persons to develop their strategic plans and so on. But the whole emphasis is helping you move from where you are right now and to be able to better manage, better execute, and scale your business in 2023. Better than you've ever done it before.
And that's good within the Christian context, because oftentimes people tend to think that Christians ought not to succeed, ought not to have these wonderful things, that you're supposed to be meek, humble, and poor almost because God loves the poor. But you're saying no, but God also built you for success. God also built you for all of those things that the world has suddenly defined as bad. And this experience that one is going to have with the SOAR spiritual experience is one that says no, it is just whether or not it's built for the kingdom of God and whether or not you're actually being able to reach those successes as well. So talk me through then this virtual summit and what people can experience when they join.
Yes, definitely. So we have 12 different speakers, and Adesha was one of them. We have from Nigeria, from the USA, from Barbados, and Jamaica. So you are going to be, if you are a kingdom business owner, that means basically if your business is designed for specifically Christians and to propel the kingdom of God. So you might be a Christian life coach, you may be a Christian speaker. This event is for you. You may not have a kingdom business, but you may also be a Christian or somebody else who just wants to know more. So you can expect, first of all, the keys to transition to the new you. So there are going to be some general topics. We're talking about forgiveness and also how to experience joy in the process. So we're also going to be looking at the SOAR blueprint, and I'm going to be speaking on that. And that's 4 key steps to building your effective marketing plan. We have the keys to achieving success in your business, how to effectively build your brand on LinkedIn. We are often on LinkedIn, a powerful tool for businesses and connecting with other business owners and customers. Consumers around the world, but we don't necessarily take advantage of all that LinkedIn provides us as an awesome resource. And of course, we have Karen Cherry. She's going to be talking about building your speaking business through visibility. And Dr. Theresa Mosey, she's going to be talking about the power of the transformational leadership style in your kingdom business. And there's so much more. And Adesha, she's going to be pushing out there on digital branding. She is the expert. I think of her the expert in that area.
Adesha, talk to us a little bit about what one can experience from you as the expert in your space.
Thank you so much for having me here this morning. It's been such a delight. Thank you, Vicky. It's exciting how we've worked with Kingdom business women, and especially for the digital space. And we found that, like you said, when it comes to soaring or when it comes to your business, you're like, oh, I have to be meek, I have to be humble, nobody should see me. But I believe that we're in a crucial time in this season. After COVID, it has become very important for us to rise and shine. And so in business, yes, you can be meek, but the Bible says that those who are meek will inherit the earth. And there's no way you can inherit the earth if you're not visible. And so at this point, there's no, we're the ones who can limit ourselves. And with the digital space, when we go to Genesis chapter 1, for example, the Bible says that, and the Lord created the birds to fly in the sky, the expanse of the sky. That means in the digital space, because that's what it looks like. In the digital space, there's an expanse of land. And so you define and you determine how far you go. If you have a digital network, you have a digital account, a handle, you can go as far as you're willing to go and as far as you put in the work. We just need to self-develop. So yeah.
But you have to know the bird you are, because not every bird, not every feathered creature can fly that high. The chicken would never go as high as the eagle.
That's why it's the eagle. It has to be the eagle.
Precisely. So understanding you who you are and your universe and the spaces in which you meet, because, and that's the critical point I think will come out in the summit as well. Not every business is scaled to have the kind of global success. There might be businesses that can be equally successful within a town alone. It is to be able to measure and be very critical in how you position yourself as well. And that's why the ability now to be able to see the universe for what it is, but to know your place within the universe as well is also going to be absolutely critical. And so this is a virtual summit. It's absolutely free. When is it?
Absolutely.
It's this Saturday, March 11th. Yes.
I love the echo.
Beginning at Sorry about that. Beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern and our time here 11 a.m. You can register at thesoarexperience.com and you'll get all that information coming to your email. And we're beginning again at 11 a.m. sharp our time, 10 a.m. Eastern time.
And all of these lovely faces of these powerful women will be sharing and impacting. And is it a whole day experience?
Right. So it's 4 hours, just 4 hours of your day on Saturday. And it's going to be an awesome experience. You can expect that you will be blessed, not only blessed, but you will begin to see yourself in a different way as an individual and also as a business owner. And if you're even looking to start a business, it will help you position your mindset in that place as you pursue that call that God has placed on you to impact the world, or rather impact your world.
So registration, where can we go to register then?
So registration is the same website, soarexperience.com. Thesoarexperience.com.
Thesoarexperience.com. Register today to be, and I mean, because it's in the virtual space, Vicky will tell you it's the universe. It's limitless, and so you can be able to log in and log on and be a part of it. So go to thesoarexperience.com and register, and you get to interact with these powerful women of the world as you continue to build your business up to be the success it was and you were designed to be. And so, Vicky, when folks join you at Adeshewa, I got to get it right. Adeshewa, when we join you in your virtual space, and what do you want us to come with, the women to come with? Because you don't want to necessarily come there and not have a full valued experience. What do they bring?
Okay, I didn't get you. The line was crackling. I don't know if you can take that again.
And I'm about to cough. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Because of what you're helping with, I can hear you. Because of what you're helping with, you want to be able to move people now in the virtual space to success in the virtual space. What would you want those ladies who are going to be a part of it to be able to at least come with, so that you help them move to the next stage?
The first thing is for you to believe that you can do it. The first thing is for you to believe that There is absolutely nothing that's created. There is no idea that God has given you that does not have the ability to give you more. And so don't tell yourself, I'm not going to come because I don't have anything. You just need to show up in the room. You are your biggest strategy. Your personality is your biggest strategy. Because even when you show up in a digital space, if you show up as the wrong personality, yes, you might scale, but you might be scaling wrong, which goes back to redefining what success is to you and what success to you means to God. And so just show up and believe that whatever question that you have, whatever thing that you have had to, struggle with, even in the digital space, you can have an answer. You will definitely get an answer. Yeah.
That is so powerful indeed. And so, Vicky, today you're launching something fantastic. Can you share with us briefly what that's about?
Definitely. Today we launched the second edition of the Who's Who in Kingdom Business directory. It's available in digital format and also print format. So that can be downloaded or purchased directly from the website www.who'swhoinkingdombusiness.com. And that's just a resource or a booklet, and so much more than a booklet, but more so a resource of women, a network of women who have come together, listed their businesses, where we all can connect, we all can collaborate and thrive. It's a let's say a platform that we couldn't find out there before, but here we are coming together, and people that are seeking to purchase business or seek services from women like us can also view this directory and connect with us. But if you are a business owner or a kingdom business owner, you're looking to expand regionally, expand internationally / globally, there's so many different women in this directory from as far as Australia that you can connect with and take your business to the next level and soar to high dimensions as well.
Well, I could feel it. I feel it already. So, folks, we needed to go and register now. The event is on Saturday. It's a virtual event. It is the SOAR Experience Virtual Summit. You do not have to be in Barbados. You could be anywhere in the world and you will benefit from this. You go to thesoarexperience.com, thesoarexperience.com, and you register. It starts at 10 o'clock. Your time, 11 o'clock, our time. No, 10 o'clock, our time, 11 o'clock, your time. How am I reading this?
11 a.m. our time,
right,
which is AST, and
right.
10 o'clock Eastern if you're in America, Canada, and then wherever you are, you can search the equivalent time for that.
So in Barbados, it starts at 11 o'clock. Anywhere outside of the Caribbean, who are an hour behind us, it's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. On Saturday, for just 4 hours of rich, powerful learning and sourcing from these 12 powerful women who will be presenting, and out of it, your kingdom business will soar. And you don't have to be a Christian to be a part of it. It would be nice because it's a journey back to Christ, but nonetheless, you can be there and benefit from all of it as well. So many different areas of business are going to be approached. And if you are curious about the strategy, then you should be curious about the SOAR Experience Virtual Summit. And if you're curious as to what else you need to do to scale your business up to soar, then you have to be a part of the Virtual Summit as well. Take the time. It's time well invested. So, Vicky and Adeshewa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wish you the success you deserve with this Virtual Summit. And you must come back and tell us how it went. I'd love to hear, indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you
for having us.
You're welcome indeed. All right, we'll take a break here on Morning Barbados. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're approaching a minute after 7 now in the news. A one-off tax-free payment and salary increases are among the wages and salary agreements reached between government and unions representing public sector workers. That announcement was made last evening in a statement from the Public Service regarding negotiations for the period 2022 to 2025. The one-off payment of $1,500 is for the period 2022 to 2023. It is for everyone who at March 31st this year would have been working in the public service and state-owned enterprises that are dependent on central government for recurring financial support. The only deduction from that amount will be for national insurance. The same people are eligible for cumulative salary increases of 3% for 23 to 24, 3% for 24 to 25. There were also increases in allowances of 10% for 2022 to 2023 and 3% for each of the following years. The SOEs not relying on central government for recurring financial support have been encouraged to conclude outstanding wages and salary negotiations in short order. In addition to the financial package agreement was also reached on non-salary items. Among them, the creation of 22 posts of master teacher for the education sector, the creation of 10 posts of specialist nurses, and the establishment of a grievance monitoring committee to track and resolve public sector grievances to meet monthly. The Public Service says it is envisaged that the salary increases and other initiatives will allow for the retention of valuable public service skills, upward mobility, and the maintenance of harmonious labor management relationship in the public sector and state-owned enterprises. Budget Day is next week. Come Tuesday, Barbados will get a clear picture of how the government intends to address critical economic and social matters over the next year or so. The announcement was made by Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw at the wrap of budget debate yesterday.
On Tuesday, the 14th of March, as we prepare to do the second reading speeches, as that debate has certainly come to be known as also the estimates, that it is also the intention of the Prime Minister, who has it within her domain, to also present a budget as well. And I therefore wanted to give notice that that is likely to take place now on March the 14th at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Well, Barbados has won the Green Destinations Story Award for Environment and Climate at ITB Berlin, one of the world's largest tourism trade shows. Minister of Tourism and International Transport, the Honourable Ian Gooding-Edgell, proudly accepted the award in Germany earlier yesterday and expressed gratitude to Green Destinations. There are new developments surrounding the controversial Tenby construction project in St. Joseph, as a cultural icon has joined the vocal concerned residents and legal action is being threatened. This all unfolded yesterday as the rural community appears to be standing firm and prepared to take further action against the project. Crystal Hoyt reports.
This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is sacrilegious.
Cultural ambassador and social activist, the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, referring to a wall being constructed as part of the Tenby construction project by Water Limited.
Town and country planning have made a monumental mistake in permitting these so-called developers to come here and build a ridiculous wall. This is terrible. And this man is allowed, given permission to build this atrocity, this barrier. And not only that, to build a cottage down here and try to stop the good people of St. Joseph from having access not only to the teacup and saucer, but also to Joes River itself. It is unfair, it is wrong, it is an injustice.
He says Barbadians must always have access to the country's rivers and beaches. CBC understands some St. Joseph residents are so upset they are in the process of filing an application for an injunction to stop the construction of the wall. One resident, Stephen Gemma, says he wants the Town and Country Development Planning Office to reconsider its decision to approve this construction.
In the past, there were certain restrictions in terms of development along Riverside. One, along the beach side, there was a 100-foot watermark in which you could not do any development within 100 feet of the high water mark. That seemed to have gone through the window. One. Two, there's a setback, what you call an easement, from the center line of the river. That too has gone out through the window.
Richard Haynes, CEO of South Central Marketing, which represents Ulls Water Limited, was on hand to hear the residents' concerns. He spoke on behalf of the developers.
They have heard the local community. They are dedicated to the local community. They actually were responsible for fixing the railway trace when it was damaged several years ago. They were heavily involved in the construction of the George River Bridge, which obviously is a major attraction down here for locals. And they've heard the people's concerns. They've currently stopped the construction of the actual gates on the eastern end of the property, and they are going to sit down there and they basically want to consult with the local community to make sure that when this project comes off, is erected, that everybody is done in harmony with the local community and everybody's happy.
Nevertheless, in addition to the legal action, the community is organizing a protest for next week. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
All right, that's a look at news until now, and we'll have more news coming up at noon in the CBC News Day. Morning Barbados continues in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity.
Of St. Lawrence Gap Christ Church, sponsored by CBC TV8 and 94.7 FM.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, 9 minutes now after 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to what's happening with fund access. Joining us as they are going to be having Enterprise Paradise, I just like the way it sounds, is Ronald Whitshire, who is a Business Development Officer, and Jamina Davis of Fund Access. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kirsten. Very good morning to you.
Likewise, indeed. And to you, Jamina, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome indeed. Let's talk a little bit, Ronald, starting with you, a little bit about what's going on with Fund Access and this big activity that's coming up this weekend.
Right, yeah. So, Kirsten, just let me give you a quick background for Fund Access in terms of what we do just very quickly. We are a funding agency, and we provide funding for small and existing startup businesses as well. We also have a business development section to our agency, where we help assist clients to develop as much as they can. What we are going to be doing on Saturday is to provide kind of feedback, give back for our clients. As you would know, we have been in existence now for the past 25 years, and on January 2nd, we celebrated our 25th anniversary. Like I said, we had a number of initiatives, a number of things that we did, but we really wanted to culminate in giving back to our clients. And that's why we are going to be having this market day on Saturday, and it's going to be a market day with a difference. As you can see, the name Enterprise Paradise is one that sounds a little bit different, And if you take a good look at Jamila, you will probably imagine some of the things that we're going to be having.
Oh, so she's the mascot today. Jamila, why did they do that to you? Good morning to you. He's
Good
teasing you
morning.
clearly, but that's your colleague.
Yes, please.
Let's talk a little bit about Enterprise Paradise that's going to be happening. It sounds as if it's going to be one space that's going to be so beautiful, and not just beautiful in terms of layout, but beautiful in terms of the range of services that are going to be offered at that event.
Most definitely. We have our food village, we have AutoZone, we have health and beauty. We also have a fashion lounge. And I mean, it's amazing because Enterprise Paradise the event is basically for our clients, by our clients. And when I say that, from the start, from the setup alone, we had clients on board, and Section 2 would have done our staging and our designing. We would have had all of our tents provided by our clients, doing best making moves and quality occasions. So that's really our Enterprise Paradise, because it's the heart of what we do and seeing our clients come together to make this happen.
Fund Access has been developed to really give life to businesses, small businesses, and they grow, they're flourishing. And now part of that is to show your work and your worth over the last 25 years at Enterprise Paradise. And so where is it going to be and what time does it start?
Right, so it's going to be at the YMCA grounds on Saturday. We start on 10 and we go through until 6.
All right, so YMCA on Pinfold Street is where you're going to be from 10 o'clock in the morning, early o'clock. And look at that, that's just a clear graphic as to what one can expect. And in the fashion lounge, there are going to be all sorts of designers who are going to be there, not just clothing, but other articles and accessories are going to be in the fashion lounge. There's going to be the food village where all of your different clients who you've supported over the time will have opportunities to share their delectable delights. Indeed, in different stalls, I'm sure we can all come down and sample from drinks to foods to cakes and condiments and the like. And then there's the AutoZone. Now that will get the guys all revved up. So talk to me a little bit about the AutoZone and who we can expect to see in the AutoZone.
In the AutoZone, we have Shine, we have 5x5 detailing, and they basically take care of the maintenance of your vehicles, but also restoration of your vehicles. As you will know, some of us have some older vehicles that we definitely need to bring back to life, and they're excellent at what they do, and they do offer specials, etc. So just come on down and work. They will work with you to suit.
Absolutely. And then there's also the Health and Beauty Hub. Again, a range of services that are offered there by the range of clients who you've helped. So from your perspective, Ronald, how many clients do you think will be on the grounds of the YMCA this coming Saturday from 10 in the morning to be a part of this expo, really, in terms of being Enterprise Paradise?
Right, yes, I'm glad you asked that. We're going to have between 45 to 50 tents there of our clients. And yes, as you said, we're going to have them in different zones, so you can come and sample. We're going to have people sampling a lot of stuff. You're going to have the health section where you can have your blood tested, you can do your diabetes testing and blood pressure and all that kind of thing. So, we're expecting to have a really exciting time, and we're really encouraging persons to come on down and see what our clients have been doing over the years.
Yeah, I'm told you're going to have that 360 photo booth in the afternoon. Wow. Wow, that sounds great. You're also having band performances, giveaways throughout the day from your clients like Curbside, Simply Creative, and Agape Chocolate Factory. So every great reason for you all folks to come down to the YMCA on Saturday. Very early in the morning. They say the early bird catches the worm, but there are going to be steals and deals all day long, because these clients who have been funded by Fund Access are good at what they do, and they want you to see what they do, but to be able to purchase by Barbados indeed. And so we want you to be there on the grounds of the YMCA Saturday. It's on Pinfold Street. If you do not know while you're in town how to get to Pinfold Street, ask someone. Ask someone. They will direct you indeed to Pinfold Street. But while you're there, take some time to browse. Bring the children along as well, because there are all sorts of musical entertainment and the like. And you get a chance to win some prizes on the day as well and enjoy some great chocolate from the chocolate factory. All that and a whole lot more indeed. Enterprise Paradise is a market day this Saturday. It's absolutely free to you. So you can come and you can browse and you can buy. All of that indeed supported by Fund Access indeed. Is there anything else we need to add that I may have missed, Ronald?
Well, I'm just thanking you very much, because I was going to interject and just remind people it's free. There's no charge. Free to come in and do your stuff. Come and watch and see what our clients have been doing over the years.
Indeed. Jamina, what do you want to say and add to it now, Jamina?
I just want to say that we have been the link to many small businesses, successful small businesses, for over 25 years, and we look forward to continuing to develop and sustain small and medium enterprises. And this event, the only thing the event is missing is for you to come down and celebrate with us.
Indeed, so 25 years of success with Fund Access at Enterprise Paradise. It's on Saturday from 10 in the morning on the grounds of the YMCA on Pinfold Street. There's going to be so much going on. So much is going to be going on there in the Fashion Lounge, the Food Village, the Auto Zone and the Health and Beauty Hub. Over 30, almost 50 exhibitors who will be there, and so you should be there too, from early in the morning, 10 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you so much, both of you, Ronald and Jamina, for joining us this morning. And I wish you very much the success that you deserve for this big Enterprise Paradise on Saturday. All the best.
Thank you very much, Kristen. And have
You're
a good day.
very welcome. And you too.
Children, get all the beautiful women out there.
Aye, Ronald, you get it in. Well done, my brother. Well done indeed. All the best to you. Thank you so much.
Right.
Morning Barbados takes a break here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
19 after 7, time for us to talk HR with Hermab. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. Whether you're a supervisor or you're a practitioner of HR, then you need to pay close attention to the question, what type of data is HR concerned about and concerned with? And so joining us as we take a look at this subject is Shane Howell, who is the Director of Human Resources Strategies, and with him is Paula Walcott, Vice President of Human Resources. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pearson.
Indeed. Paula, let me be the first. Happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you very much.
I got there
Happy
before.
International Women's Day for all the women across.
Well done. I got there before Shane, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Indeed. Now, today we're looking at this subject. What type of data is HR concerned with? And I'll start with you, Paula. What type of data is HR concerned with?
So HR is concerned with any data that allows us to make better decisions and basically to run the business. What that looks like from a business perspective is anything, whether it's about profitability, whether it's about output, interested in that because we have to align our strategies with it as well. But specifically from the data that HR manages directly, we'll be concerned with things like if it's a manufacturing environment, if there are any safety incidents, if there are near misses, that's the kind of data we'll look at. And in other environments, we're looking at things like recruitment data. So how long does it take us to fill roles? Which roles are we turning over more often? We look at data related to performance. How many people who are rated highly are being promoted when we have opportunities opening up in the business? We look at things like absenteeism as well. So anything at all in the business that allows us to make better decisions and run the business better is what we're concerned with.
And that's the whole point, to use the data to help make better decisions. And it's much more determining how many vacation days you're due and how many sick days you took. All of those, it's much, much more than that. And so it seems as if, Shane, there's the ever-evolving face of HR. And in particular now, given everything that's happening, you know, access to this data, you know, is going to be absolutely critical. So talk to me a little bit about what advice would you give to HR practitioners in terms of being able to gather the data and assimilate that data?
Okay. Well, seeing that you go ahead of me before, let me just say happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. But when it comes to, you know, gathering the data, I think for the most part, you know, from years ago when we had companies, we were gathering data, whether it be through a traditional, you know, paper application form, or obviously the systems have evolved now where a lot of applications are actually through online systems. So we have been able to gather data throughout time quite easily. The concern at this point in time is more so how do we secure that data and ensure that only those persons who need to have access to the data have access to that data. So for example, let's look at, you know, the bulk of businesses in Barbados are small businesses, and therefore they may not have complex IT systems as opposed to maybe a larger organization. So companies are still using, you know, folders, the manila folders with all the forms and the application forms and the medical forms and so on. And one simple thing that can be done is to ensure that there's segregation of the different types of information in the file that is relevant. So let's say, for example, Pearson, you have your employee file, and there is no reason why, let's say you have a new manager and the new manager comes in and they want to get a sense of your performance over the last 5 years. Because they just want to get a sense, you know, how Pearson is performing and so on, and that's perfectly fine. So they need access maybe to your performance reviews, they may need access to your attendance records, but they may not, for those purposes, need access to your medical file, let's say, that may have something that is more detailed on your medical history. So what can be done is to actually have separate subfolders for an individual so that you can segregate and have medical records here, personal information there, performance review information there, where then I can separate and ensure that only those persons who need to have access to the relevant data has that access. In more complex IT systems, it means that those companies by default can set permissions to ensure that only certain people have access to certain things. And then beyond that, when it comes then to being able to use that information to make informed decisions, persons have the information as per the Data Protection Act, have the information to make those decisions, but they only have as much information as they need to do what they need to do, as Paula would have been essentially outlining.
Indeed, and so Paula, this information that Shane just aptly put together beautifully in the folders and how it's important to mine that data, it has value. And so how do we convince HR practitioners to see it to be that a valuable asset to sit at the table to be able to leverage?
So the thing with the data is using it, and using it well, as you said, to create that value. What the data tells us when we look at it is it gives us insights about whether the strategies and the goals are actually being successful. So you're in business to achieve something, data will help us to understand whether we're doing that. One of the easiest ways we can get to a place where we use data is through surveys, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Yes, there are tools available online to create surveys, but if you have a small shop and you realize that every 3 months you have to change your employee, then you can ask yourself some questions. Come up with what's most important. What are you looking for? What do you value most in these hires? Come up with 2 or 3 questions. And every time somebody's quitting that job, then ask those same 3 questions. Over a period of time, you've created a database of data that you can then use to get valuable insights into why are people leaving this role. And then you can make better decisions when it comes to hiring. So HR can really get value out of the data. Another way we use data and add value is by using data to educate. Sometimes we need to convince people that what we are saying makes more sense than what they are saying. And data helps us to build a strong case for why we need to change certain things in the operation. The other way we can use data is really to reinforce positive behaviors. So you may have 2 shops and one shop is outperforming the other. When you really look what's happening, it may be that the supervisor at that shop is superior to the other person. There's certain behaviors they exhibit. The people who work in that particular shop feel more engaged. When you ask questions related to those things, and again, collate that data and build it up over time, you're then able to have real conversations with the other supervisor to say, listen, these are the behaviors that lead to better outcomes. And if you maybe try to apply some of this, we may see better results or better sales at this location. So those are some of the things that HR practitioners can do or business owners can do when they put on their HR hats to see better outcomes and really to achieve the goals of the company.
Understanding the data, gathering the data and being able to understand that data. But oftentimes, Shane, you know, the data feels to some employees as though it is always skewed against them. You know, it's always about the organization's goals. It's always about them and the money and the bottom line. But it feels then as if you're mining my data just to meet that particular cause, but somehow it doesn't trickle down to my benefit. So talk to me a little, is there any benefit to the employee from the gathering of the data?
Yes, definitely. Ultimately, I think employee success by default hinges on the success of the business. If you don't have a successful business, then there's no space for employees. So the business must be successful, but employees by default should be beneficiaries or benefactors of those benefits. So when it comes to data, it's no different. Paula actually just started to give a fantastic example of where employee development can come as a direct result of the use of data. So immediately when you're using data and trying to, for example, calculate or better understand what are the training needs, what are the competency gaps. So essentially, where are our people performing really well, or where are individuals performing really well, vis-a-vis where are there opportunities for improvement, again, whether en masse, that is all of our employees. And a good example of that would have been a few years ago with the introduction of the Safety and Health at Work Act, where we had significant training in safety that persons had never been exposed to before, and they recognized that there were significant gaps in their knowledge and by extension practices. So by default, there's an opportunity there when it comes to skill development. Outside of that, data can be used for promotional opportunities. So looking at your performance data over time, a company can essentially look back and say, well, you know, this particular candidate has been performing at a very high level for an extended period of time. When opportunities for promotion or gain development come up, this individual is a person who we should have within our line of sight as a strong contender for that role. So you have that as well. Another area that persons may not necessarily think about would be something as simple as when it comes to personal data. When we have hurricane season, the simple fact that I have personal data means that the company can reach out and provide support. So access the person first, and then reach out and provide support if we can't get in contact with the individual. I know companies that would have gone out in the district because they had the address. That is a form of personal information that allows them to go and support employees who may be a victim of catastrophic circumstances. So you have several, and the last one I want to mention, which is the less discussed but a very real opportunity, is medical information. Now, it is obviously one of the most sensitive forms of data, but if a company has medical information or is tracking, you know, this is where our employees are having challenges, they can help, they can actually design benefits programs to support those employees. So beyond the standard, medical pension plan and so on, they can actually tweak those benefit programs to appeal to the needs of their people, as opposed to something that's a bit more generic, and across the board. So there are so many opportunities where employees are actually beneficiaries of the use of data within organizations.
That requires, to my mind, a little bit of honesty and vulnerability at the same time, because an employee would say, I'm not going to tell them, because you know how it is with HR, sometimes it gets out, and I don't want to share my data because I feel as though somehow someone is going to go rifling through my file to get to know things about me without me knowing. Let's talk a little bit about the security that's would be required surrounding a person's file and the data surrounding that individual or individuals. What do you suggest, Shane?
Okay, so essentially the Act speaks very clearly to who uses data and how much access they have. That is something that an HR department needs to look at seriously and determine again the permissions that different individuals within the organization have. That individuals have. And then beyond that, there's the opportunity for education. So even within a person completing an application form, the form should give some sense of how this information is going to be used. That is a form of education. For persons within the organization, there's nothing wrong with sending communication, having discussions. So just informing persons how information is going to be used, because there may actually be changes as a result of the Data Protection Act. And therefore, it would be wise for organizations to say, well, guys, these are the things that we're going to be putting in place to protect your data, and this is how we intend to use your data going forward. So I think education is one of the strongest and potentially one of the more strategic tools that an organization has, in its toolkit, so to speak, to be able to assure persons that their information will be secured. And then obviously by that, whether it be IT, to have the requisite infrastructure, so working with the IT team to ensure that there are the necessary firewalls and so on, or again, if you have a paper-based system, simply making it clear who has the key to the particular filing cabinet, have you segregated the files so that everybody can't see everything. So there are those things that the company has to do from an infrastructural standpoint, but then the communication helps to give employees the assurance that the information will be used in the correct way. And where there are breaches, then obviously there needs to be action taken, even if that action is against management, HR, or whoever may be responsible.
Indeed. And so, Paula, I'm listening to all of this, and I can hear some HR departments saying, but there are never enough of us. HR departments never seem to have enough people to manage all that is required of them, because sometimes they're so bogged down in listening to the complaints and concerns of employees that they don't have time to get on with the other bits of work. Sometimes the boss is requiring something of them and they don't have time to get on to a lot of this tracking of data that you're talking about. So in a very practical way, how do you begin to respond to members who are watching this morning who are saying, but I hear you guys, it makes a lot of sense, but I don't have the time to do all of this that you're asking me to do? What do you say to them today, Paula?
I say baby steps. The first thing is to acknowledge how valuable data is. And having data can actually make your life a little easier. Because if you zone in on what the gaps are in the organization and where you really need to step up and support the business to achieve those goals, identify what that is first. And once you've identified it, you can come up with a small survey that allows you to start to build your own database of data. The survey will take care of that part. It's then when you receive the impact, the insights you take from that. And more importantly, when you get those insights, you build a case, you educate about the need for change, and those changes may actually result in your HR work getting a lot easier. So we start to eat the elephant with one bite. You start small and you build from there.
Bite the elephant one bite at a time, indeed. Thank you so much. Now listen, this is all part, folks, of you watching, this is all part of what's going to be coming up next week in the HR boot camp that's going to be happening on, if you haven't yet already registered for the 16th and the 17th of March, then you should register today. Go to the website hermab.org.bb and register. There are several pillars that will be tackled over those couple days, but there are great opportunities for you to build up and to take it one step at a time, at the same time to be able to develop your strategy through HR and to benefit from the resources that will be afforded you through the boot camp as well. I want to thank you, Shane Howell, Director of Human Resources Strategies, and Paula Walcott, Vice President of Human Resources as well, for joining us this morning to talk HR with HERMAB and to talk HR with our crew and everyone that's watching as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome indeed. Have a great day. And don't forget, as I always say, membership brings benefits. You can join HERMAB at any time. You can join them today. hermab.org.bb, the website to which you go and join. But join for the boot camp and you will see the benefits immediately. We'll take a break here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to max.
22 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Gentlemen, pay attention as our good buddy Dr. Paul Rouse, our urologist, joins us now. And we take a look today at the benign prostatic hyperplasia. Good morning to you, Dr. Rouse.
Good morning, Barbados. Thanks for having me again on your show this morning.
As always, it's good to have you, buddy. Now, let's talk a little bit. I want you to give me the definition, first of all, of benign, so that people don't get scared when we talk about benign prostatic hyperplasia.
So continuing from my last talk about 2 weeks ago where we discussed lower urinary tract symptoms, this morning I want to talk specifically about BPH, as we would call it, to shorten the form, or what we see pathologically, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia. This is where the glands within the prostate gland as we age get bigger and bigger as we get older. So this affects most men in that roughly we'd say about 50% of men will develop benign prostatic hyperplasia as they get older, and about 50% of men will have enlargement of the gland as a result of this, and then a further 50 or so percent of those will have what we call lower urinary tract symptoms, the frequency, the urgency, the intermittent flow, the getting up at night, these sort of symptoms as a result of the BPH. So that's really what it is. It's really glands within the prostate get bigger and bigger as we get older.
What benign means it's not at that dangerous stage, right? Oh,
yes, it's
praise
not dangerous.
Jehovah.
This is not cancer, so we're not talking about prostate cancer. We always seem to be talking about prostate cancer, and we'll discuss it briefly as well. In that we need to rule that out before because similar symptoms, the same lower urinary tract symptoms, but this is a totally benign, or what I call an age-related disorder as we get older. I don't want to use the term disease because I don't want people to think that they have some sort of serious, nasty affliction, but it is what we call part of the aging process. So this is something that happens naturally as we get older.
Good. So
and
we
can
ready
lead to these lower urinary tract symptoms. Yes.
So now that we know it's not dangerous, it's not cancer, we are ready to hear you, sir. So where do you take us from there? Or we can now hear.
So where I take you from there is that when you develop the symptoms as a result of BPH, the urinary symptoms, which is the most is where it would normally present, it can present with some more bothersome symptoms, such as sometimes because if you have quite an enlarged gland, you can have some bleeding. If you're not emptying your bladder well, you can have recurrent urinary tract infections. Then, as you will keep hearing me say, initially, you don't necessarily need to come to see a specialist like myself. I think your first protocol is to see your general practitioner, because from our previous talk, not only can the enlarged prostate or BPH cause lower urinary tract symptoms, yes, unfortunately prostate cancer can as well, but other problems, so heart untreated diabetes, uncontrolled heart disease, these also cause symptoms. So the first instance when you have some problems like this, see your GP. GPs will then take you through a clinical history, a physical examination, which will include a digital rectal exam. So don't be afraid, man. This is a simple, straightforward just to feel examine the prostate gland to see that's confirmed that it's enlarged, and that it's not hard, it's not lumpy, it's not nodular, that we're not worried about prostate cancer, and that this is just the age-related enlargement. And most GPs will then discuss with you possible treatments. I know a lot of people like to, here in Barbados, like to use herbal remedies, and that's quite safe. I'm going to leave that for another talk in the near future. But then, usually then your GPs will then start you on some medical therapy, usually what we call an alpha blocker. Most men will be probably, older men who got BPH will be familiar with drugs such as tamsulosin or Flomax or alfuzosin. Those are the more common ones we have. Or so those relax the tissue within the prostate, hopefully make it a lot easier for you to pass your water. And then, or they can start you on some other drugs to help shrink your prostate gland. We call those the 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. The more common ones available here in Barbados are things like finasteride or Avodart. There's also dutasteride as well, or Avodart, right? And then also there's combination therapies as well with combination of both those drugs. The more common ones here in Barbados would be your Dutart and your Truvera Max, and Truvera has one, just the alpha blocker, Truvera alone. So these are some of the remedies if simple alternative therapies don't work, where you can also then start you on some medical therapy for this, either singly or in combination therapy. After discussing the potential side effects with your patients, most GPs are happy to start that. I then want to see men who don't settle with medical therapy, and unfortunately then we have to sometimes consider surgical therapy. Again, I'm going to leave for another talk because that's a whole so many different options available here. But I just want to get men thinking about these symptoms this morning. First port of call, I want you to see your GP. Usually starts with some simple lifestyle changes. Sometimes is enough. Sometimes we can talk about alternative therapies. We'll come and talk about, and another time we'll talk about these, the salt palmetto, the stinging nettle bush, pumpkin seed oil. We'll discuss that in another topic and the pros and cons of those. And then if that doesn't work, then you need to refer to myself as a urologist or one of my other colleagues for further evaluation or so.
If I'm on the medicine bit, am I on those medicines then for life?
Yes, unfortunately, that's a really good question. A lot of men do misinterpret that if you start patients on medication for, say, a month, most prescriptions are a month and then renewable. Unfortunately, your prostate is there for the rest of your life. So unfortunately, you will need to be on therapy for the rest of your life. So really, if we can prevent you from getting severe disease in the first place by starting you on treatment early, is implementing lifestyle changes early, then hopefully if we can just control your symptoms with those without necessarily having to be on medications, then that'll be best. But if unfortunately you have to be on medications, really and truly it will be probably for the rest of your life because your prostate gland is there. We're not going to remove the entire prostate gland for benign disease. I will leave when men have moderate and more severe symptoms, surgical management, and the pros and cons of that. But yes, unfortunately, it usually would mean that you will be on medication.
There's nothing I can do about it as a man. You have a prostate, it's going to enlarge.
Specifically, yes. It is one of those things I tell patients, some people are tall, some people are fat, some people are short, some people are skinny. It is just, unfortunately, you're lucky in life if you get an enlarged prostate and get lower urinary tract symptoms with it, but they can be managed effectively. As I said, initially start with your GPs, but if unfortunately you get severe symptoms not being managed with medical therapy, then you come over, see myself as a urologist, and we can then talk about some of the surgical management treatments of BPH/lower urinary tract symptoms.
You said at the beginning, 50%, just about 50% or so will probably be predisposed to having benign prostate, BHP.
Well, we'll get in the enlargement, yeah. Most of us will get it. We think this is just a normal part of nature, normal part of aging. Okay. So most of us will get BPH, or all men will get BPH. about 50% of men will have enlargement of the gland as a result of BPH, and then a further 50% will get symptoms severe enough that would warrant either medical or surgical treatment. So they're roughly, so about 1 in 4 men will have enlargement and significant lower urinary tract symptoms warranting either medical or surgical treatment. Yeah.
Okay.
So usually then, well, if you then come to me as a urologist, then usually what I would usually do, I'm not sure if you have the cartoons there about the assessment, I usually would ask you to attend my clinic with a comfortably full bladder. I'll ask you to complete some questionnaires. I'm very scientific about things, so I ask my men to complete what we call the International Prostate Symptom Score. Almost invariably, when men have lower urinary tract symptoms, they potentially have problems with erectile function. So I also ask you to complete an IEF score, that stands for International Index of Erectile Function score, get you to do some uroflows or so. And these allow me to objectively look at the severity of your symptoms. I try to quantify your symptoms, and it'll be so we can be quite objective and scientific about how we proceed thereafter. Also, part of that assessment, you have as I said, you have a digital exam. I'll repeat it again. I'm the specialist, so although your GP has done it, in most cases I will still also repeat it because I need to be sure that I'm not worried about anything more sinister. And yes, as you're showing there in the cartoon, PSA is an important part because let's face it, unfortunately, it's prevalent in as you get older, as is BPH. So therefore, we need to make sure that you don't have any prostate cancer, especially by the time you come to see me, you're going to be potentially looking at surgical intervention. So if, unfortunately, you also have prostate cancer, if we can look at surgery, we'll talk about surgery to deal with both conditions if prostate cancer is present. If prostate cancer is not present, then the surgical options are slightly different. I'll get into these in a program in the near future where I look at TURP, I'll look at laser prostatectomy, I'll look at things like Urolift, there's Rezum, there's microwave therapy, you name it, we've done it to the spore gland. So there are a lot of different surgical options out there available, some available here in Barbados, sometimes I refer men over to the United States if they want to have some of the more minimally invasive techniques.
So, nothing to sweat about. It's something that you can have attention by your GP, and they've necessarily referred to you as well as a urologist for further insight into what's happening with us. But over 50% of men, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. You'll have the interrupted flow. You'll have the challenges coming as a consequence of the enlarged prostate. But you can nip it in the bud, so to speak, to avoid any kind of development to prostate cancer if it comes to that, by certainly paying closer attention early to what's going on there and having those PSA tests and those digital tests done as well to manage the growth or change in the prostate indeed. Dr. Rose, as you put it that way, thank you very much here. Now we're very clear as to what we need to do, gentlemen, so that we can live a healthier life, really understanding our prostate, which is a critical part of who we are, but and get the treatments early indeed. Thank you so much, sir.
No, thank you very much. Good morning, Barbados.
Yeah, indeed, good morning. We're coming back in just a moment.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for our new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. send us an email to morningbarbados@cbc.vb. And together...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
9:30 to go to 8 o'clock now as we turn our attention to the Autism Association of Barbados. Have you heard about it? Have you got a child who has autism? Joining us to talk more about this condition is Frederick Johnson, who is the president of the Autism Association of Barbados, and with him is Lynn Marie Jack, a member of the Autism Association of Barbados. To both of you, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Barbados, and good morning, Pearson. Thank you.
Thank you too for joining us. Now, a lot of us don't yet know or understand autism. Could you help us understand what it is we're talking about, what this medical condition is that our children experience?
Okay, if I can take the lead on that, Pearson. It's a developmental issue. It's not a mental defect in somebody's makeup when they're born. It's you first begin to notice it as a parent when your child misses the basic milestones of development as they grow through 1 year and 2 years and 3 years. I mean, for example, my son didn't actually start to speak until he was 3 years old. And before then, he had other issues as well, such as lack of eye contact and lack of empathy with his sister at the time. He seemed to be a very good baby. On the other hand, he wasn't having difficulty sleeping or just being himself. He had a good appetite, but his mental development slowed down, and it was noticeable, first of all, because he didn't speak at all until he was 3 years old.
And that caused you concern? And so
it caused us both great concern. I mean, the two of us, mother and father. It was it's very off-putting when you see other families with other children developing in what I call a regular fashion. So you immediately know something is up. So you go and make consultations, and you also ask other parents, how are their children? Did they meet their milestones and so on? So straight away you're comparing yourself with other families, and you're looking for assessment.
And so what assessment did you have to do with your child so that you understood the condition?
Well, you should really get an assessment as early as possible. Early intervention is the prime mover in this, because it dictates how the child develops as they go down and as they grow older into teenagers and into adults. The earlier you can get an assessment, the better. Most psychologists would like to say that they don't like to do assessments until the child is about 3 years old. But I believe that it is possible from 2 years. As a parent, you know your child and you know what they're missing. If they have siblings, you know again how their siblings developed. But the important thing is to get an assessment from a person who does know about the disability. That's the most important thing.
And so what's been your story, Lynn Marie?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me here. When my son was about 6 months old, he started to have what we call infantile spasms, and that later was diagnosed as autism around 3 years old, when we obviously noticed he was missing some milestones, eye contact, his emotions were muted, no laughing and playing. You could tickle him and he wouldn't laugh and that kind of thing. As Frank also said, he was such a perfect baby. He went to bed easily, no lots of crying, that kind of thing. He walked before he creaked. You know, we were at first thinking, wow, he didn't even creep, he walked. But creeping is very, very important milestone for a baby, and something to look out for. If your child does not creep, that's one red flag. Luckily, I had a wonderful pediatrician, so she noticed that he wasn't meeting his milestones as we reported them also. So she guided us through the process really well. And as Frank said, early intervention is very important. So we had some assessments done, even though with the hesitation of not wanting to assess him before 3 years old. We obviously knew there was something wrong. So we started to intervene at that point.
And knowing what you found out, what adjustments did you have to make so that your son's life could be the best it could possibly be?
Oh, a lot of adjustments. First of all, you have to adjust your expectations because you are expecting, you have so many goals set for your child. You have, you know what they're going to be doing by 5 years old. You know what activities you're going to expose them to. You know, probably if you're like my husband who went to Comamere, his son is going to go to Comamere and that kind of thing. So you have to first adjust your expectations. The second thing is to stop focusing on what your child is not doing and focus on what that child is doing and what development targets they are meeting. So you have to first adjust your expectations, like I said. Then the next step is to find the correct things that child needs for his or her development, and that is not focusing on what other parents or families are doing, but what would help that child. Is it speech therapy? Does that child need occupation therapy? Does that child need behavioral therapy? And trust me, I've been through all of them and more. And then also, you, like I said, you focus on the child's strengths, because a child with autism may very well have some special gift or something like that, and you try to hone in on those things and focus and guide the child in that direction.
And so, Frederick, this is why the Autism Association exists, so that parents like yourselves can come together, lean on each other, learn from each other, and to be able to assist our nation's children.
Yes, I think one of the most important things that parents have got to develop is get rid of the, how can I put this, get rid of the sense of shame which a lot of people fall back on. They think they have a child to be ashamed of, which couldn't be further from the truth. Every child is different anyway. It's just that our children who are on the spectrum are so much more different than the rest. So first of all, don't feel guilty. Don't feel that you have to hide your child away. Be open with people. Say that they have a developmental disorder and they are not just throwing a tantrum. And straight away, I think you'll find there's a lot of people out there who will understand. Parents, other parents especially, will understand what you're going through. The second thing is to talk to other parents with children on the spectrum as much as possible. Share experiences, share the way that they do things in their family, and see what you can adopt and adapt for your own child. It's, you have to have a shared experience mindset. That's what you have to have.
Indeed. You know, this is such an important conversation. I'd love to continue. Time is against me. So please, my producer will contact you. We'd love to do another session with this. I hope you accept in advance of the call from my producers. But thank you both. Indeed, I understand, but I really want to continue more on this. But I have to go now. But thank you so much for joining us this morning.
If I can just give you our email address, which is Autism in Barbados, one word, Autism in Barbados, autism spelled AUTISMINBARBADOS @gmail.com.
All right. To be continued, Market Frederick, to be continued. Autism in Barbados @gmail.com if you want to reach out for some assistance. But we shall continue the discussion in another upcoming segment here on Morning Barbados. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
And quickly, very quickly, Autism Sensory Month is coming up in April, and we do have great functions coming up very soon. Thank you.
We'll talk to you. Thank you so much indeed. All right, we'll take a break here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, that's our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. For the crew, to all of you, good morning. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.